Hello. So I have been asked about putting photos within letters or within words in Affinity Designer. So I'm currently in Affinity Designer 1. The process will be very similar in Affinity Designer 2, but if you get stuck or you'd like me to record it in Affinity Designer 2 as well, just let me know and I'll happily do that. So I've started just a new document. So this is just an A4 page. I've done it with a transparent background. I've done it landscape just so I can fit the word across the page quite nicely. And I'm going to start by just inserting my text. So if I come over to the left-hand menu, and I'm going to come here where it'll either have an A or a T. And for this one, I'm going to use the artistic text tool just because it's a bit easier to change the size to what I need on my page. And so if I click the artistic text tool, and I'm just going to click and drag for the size that I want, and I'm going to write the word that I want to fill. So I'm just going to, this is my sister's dog's name. So I'm just going to add this text. So I'm going to select it and change my font. So I want quite a thick font that's going to take, so that you're going to be able to see quite a bit of the photos with. So if I come up and change my font, I was using one last night that was quite nice. Yeah, this was it. So if I use Impact here, but I could use any font. And this is the great thing with doing this, is you're not tied into whatever you've bought a template for. You can completely make it your own by using your own fonts and inserting your own photos in a way that you want to. So from here, I'm just going to drag the corners here to make my word a bit bigger, just so it fills my page. And if I've got snapping on, so this magnet type shape from here, I can then move it around my page. You can see the green line that's running from top to bottom to show that it's central. And I'll get a red line. There we are. So that's completely central to my page. So I'm happy with that. And I'm good to go. So I'm going to go through a few different ways that we can add photos. And the first one is a very simple, very quick way. I'm just going to come over to the Place Image tool and I'm going to select a photo. So say I want this one. I'm just going to pop it there. And then in my Layers panel on the right-hand side, I'm going to grab hold of that picture that I have and I'm going to drag it into my Word. And you can see there it's taken the shape of the letters. Okay, so if I click on this arrow here, this is my photo and this is the letter. So if the photo is selected, I can make my photo bigger or smaller. I might just...
Sorry, I don't know that.
Alexa, stop. Sorry, don't know why she's picked up on my voice there. I'm actually going to change this word, this photo. So I'm just going to come to replace image. Let's try it with a landscape one. Here we are. So this is where you could have one that takes all the letters and you can move it up and down as you wish. There we are. And it takes all the letters. Or you can do it this way, still just with one. So if I shrink that down a little, maybe I just want to fill the L, although actually the E. Let's do the E with this one. Now you can see it is overlapping the L and part of the X, but if I come to the left-hand menu to the vector crop tool, I can just use where you've got this thick part of the line here and you get the two arrows, I can just pull that in so that it is just taking the E. Okay, and then I could add another image. So let's go for this one. And again, I'm going to click it and drag it into my shape. Then move it around and resize it as need be. And again, it's cutting into my E, so I'm just going to use the vector crop tool and I'm going to bring that over. Okay, so that's one way that you can do it quite easily. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. So here is my word. I'm just going to select my image and delete it. It's as simple as that. If you want to change your image or delete them, just click delete and there we are. Now to save my pictures going into the different letters, I can split my word into individual letters. So I have the word selected. I'm going to right click somewhere over the word in the on the page and convert to curves. Now what that has done in the layers panel is I now have a group, and within that group I have the different letters. So I have the I, the X, the E and the L all separately. So now if I were to add a picture, let's go with the same one again. So if I were to add this picture over the top, and I'm going to drag that into my L. So again, I can click on the arrow, make sure my picture is selected, and then I can move it around. But you can see, even though it's overlapping the E, it's not, the picture hasn't actually gone into that letter. And I can resize. I can resize and move around as need be. So that's a great way to stop it from going into other letters. The other way I can do it, which is quite good if you're only using one photo, I'm going to select the letter that I want. I'm going to use the fill tool, which I used if you've bought any of my tutorials. In the repeating patterns tutorial, we use the fill tool. So it's very, very similar to that. I come over to the left-hand menu and select the fill tool. And then you'll see you get this menu up the top. So context, we still want fill. Type, we're going to come down to bitmap. From here, you can select your photo. So, just wondering if another one might be, let's just go with this one. Okay, and that has filled my space. Now you can see at the bottom, you've got the head coming back round again. It's just because this line hasn't quite reached the top of the shape. So if you just drag that up, then it will do. And equally, to zoom in, you can either pull on this toggle or on this toggle. Just make sure that each of them have reached the edge of the shape, otherwise you'll end up with this kind of effect, which you might want. So I'm just going to pull that out, zoom in as much as you want. If you grab hold of this, this centre kind of toggle, you can pull it down and move it around within your letter as you want. And it's not just photos you can do this with. If you buy some digital paper, you can do that to create different effects within your letters. I get quite a few digital papers off of Creative Fabrica, however you say it. And yeah, then you can have different effects on your letters that aren't necessarily photos. Equally, if I grab hold of this toggle, will work better on digital paper than photos, although some photos it might work. If I move this up, you can see my photo tilts, and I can still zoom in and out by pulling it in and out. But the more I rotate it, the more it changes. So let's just zoom back out again, and maybe I just want it slightly tilted. That looks quite cute. So there we are. So I'm just going to click on the move tool just to come out of that. So that's another way that you can fill your shape. Let's just move along a little bit. So if maybe you want to add multiple images to your shape, so I know that's what Terry asked for in the Facebook support group. So let's add a few different ones. So I'm just going to select the X just so that they stay near to the X in the layers panel. And then if I come to the place image tool, I'm going to select the photos that I would like. Let's go for this one. So I'm just selecting, but I'm going to hold down Control so I can select different ones. Maybe this one and this one. Sorry, I keep getting this pop up at the moment. Right, open. So I'm just going to click and drag. You can just click, but then they may end up being bigger than you want. Okay, and you can move them around depending on where you would like them roughly. I mean, you can do this once they've taken the shape, but I'm just going to do them quickly now. And then in the layers panel, I'm going to select them all. So there is one of my photos. I'm just going to hold down Shift and select the next one, Shift and the next one, Shift and the next one. So they are all selected. Just scroll down to make it a bit easier. And I just click and I'm going to drag them into that X so they take the shape. Scroll up. Here's my X. So if I open it out, you can see the different images within there, and you can choose, we'll come to it a little bit in a minute, but you can choose which photos are higher than the others, so which ones are layered above others, and move them around just by clicking and dragging them. There we are. So that would be between, or you can just go move back one, move forward one, and then that will move it down or up in your layers panel. So let's start, let's select this one. I'm just going to play around with it. So it's where I want it to be. So again, you can see because this layer is above this layer, if I want to zoom in too much, it's going to end up covering that photo. So again, I can use the vector crop tool and I can just cut some of it out to reveal the dog underneath. But I don't want it zoomed in quite that much anyway. There we are. Let's go for that. So this one here, I can't even see the dog at the moment. So again, I'm moving this one over and it's covering this dog here. So let's use the vector crop tool and bring it over a bit. Here we are. Come to the move tool. Right, what's this one here? Let's move that over. There you go. So this is in a layer underneath, so I can zoom it in and it's not covering the others. Okay, let's leave that there. And this one here, because it's below the others, you can actually see that one's come over the top. Let's just move this one forward one. There we are. There we go. So you've got different ones. Now if I zoom in, it's not particularly tidy here. So I can select them and tidy them up a little bit. So like this one, I use the vector crop tool. I can use that again to line it up with the bottom of this one. And because I've got snapping on, that's showing me where the other one ends to tidy it up a little bit. Or if one's overlapping the other, let me zoom in so we can see that a little bit better. So like here looks quite untidy, and the same here. Choose the picture that you would like to erase from, and we can use the erase tool like we used on Natalie's dollies to swap over the colour eyebrows. Let's so I'm going to erase from this one. I'm going to try and erase this bit here. Okay, so I've got the layer I'm erasing from selected. I'm going to now change to pixel persona. And then you have some different options down the left. So I'm going to use the erase brush tool. And here we are. I'm in brushes. So you can just use it as it is, Or you can choose some brushes. This is on one that I was using earlier. So on brushes here, you can choose, you've got your basics. So you could just have a normal round brush, which is going to give you quite a stark edge. Or you can go for something a little more subtle. So I was in textures. And so you can see it's not going to completely erase unless you keep going over the area. But it can give quite a nice blend between two photos. Let's see what we've got here. Maybe we'll go for something like this. Okay, now you can see at the moment I've got quite a big eraser there, so I can change the size of that at width. Let's bring that down. Okay, and then I'm just going to come here and I'm going to erase, and if I go over it, you can see I need to go over it a few times because it's a bit more of a subtle edge. But that is getting rid of those areas of that photo. And if I zoom right in, you can see it's quite a subtle change between the two. So let's come out of that. I'm just going to flick back to designer persona. I just find the layers panel a little easier. So this photo, you've got some of the wrapping paper coming into this photo. So if I select this one that I want to erase from, I'm going to flip back to pixel persona, go back to my erase brush tool, and I'm just going to erase that bit. I mean, actually, it just looks black underneath, but for the sake of this, that's fine. Okay, so you might choose to have some subtle differences in photos. Equally, you might not. Just because it's annoying me, I'm just going to move this one up slightly because I don't like having that area of black. There we are. Perfect. But yeah, as I was saying, snapping does really help to make sure that your pictures are lined up quite well. So let's add one to our last letter. I'm just going to go back to the very first one that I did. So I have the eye selected. Let's choose a photo. Let's choose this one. Okay, there it is. I'm just going to click it and drag it in, and then I can move that around. There we are. Now, obviously, some of the water is in the dot of the eye. Say I don't want that, and I want just a standard colour in there. I can do that just by using any of my shape tools. So let's just use a rectangle tool for now, because I've had bitmap. It's filled it with my picture, so I'm just going to come here. Let's just change it to a colour for now. So it will automatically do that if you've been using bitmap and filling with a photo. It will fill with a photo for you again. I want to change the colour of that. Let's go for a green, maybe a darker green. I can see it in my layers panel, and I'm just going to click and drag it into my eye as I would do with any photo, and then the top of the eye has taken a different colour. Equally, on a shape like an L, I might decide to do that. I'm just going to come down and select the L just so they're close together on there. So let's add a shape. Let's make this one a pink. There we go. So I'm just going to click and drag it in. Now again, I might want the photo above it, in which case I can just move it down a level if I wanted the photo above, but I'm happy with where it is now. And I can zoom in and make sure that it's lined up with the bottom of my letter quite nicely. So there you go, I'm happy with that. I might decide that actually I want the line going diagonally across, depending on what the photo is. So I'm going to right click in the same way we did with the word to start with. I'm going to right click and convert to curves, and I'm going to use the node tool to change the shape of this shape. So if I come up to the node tool, select the node tool, and I could add a new node here, which would pull the whole edge down there. Just put that back up there. Or I could pull this node over to here, this node to here, and you can see that has given the shape a whole different effect. So you could play around with that to make it your own for different effects using photos and different colours within shapes. If you want an outline on your text, I'm just going to select it all. So I'm just clicking and dragging to cover the whole thing. Two ways we can do it. We can either head to effects. Look at that, I've already got it open. You can scroll through the different effects until you get to outline. So you're just going to click on this little toggle and select it. And you can change your colour. So maybe you want blue. And then you can change how thick you want your border to be. So that's one way of doing it. Or instead of that, you can just come up here and select, if it's going to let me, select your outline shape. So the one that's hollow, select your colour. And then if you come along to stroke, you can change how thick that is. So again, if you want an outline on your letter, that is the way to do that. And yeah, it's good fun. Have a little play around with different photos, different words, different fonts. Knowing how to do this with your shapes will be really handy if you're using a slightly curvier font. So this is quite straight lines. But yeah, if you want the pictures to take to the curve of your shape, you can use the node tool quite easily. Have fun. Do head over to the EC Small Business Facebook group and just let me know how you get on. Share any photos, any inspiration for people. And I'll be really grateful if you could like the photo and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.